Hey guys, Asher coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. I am not alone today. I am joined by Boozer. Boozer, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey Ash, thanks for having me on your channel today. Super pumped and excited to be here. Thank you.
Dude, this is awesome. First time guest, obviously. You're a fairly new Raid content creator here in 2024, man. I'm trying to keep things fresh with the guests here. And I saw one of your videos. Honestly, I forgot which one it was, but it was helpful.
Well, it sounds like everything I've heard about you is true.
Great content. I stand by it. And I was like, I want to get this guy on the channel. And I did not know at first that you are 100% free to play and you're the most end game free to play in the game. And we have like proof, verification, and everything. I'm actually just going to show a little bit that you provided me in the background.
I don't want him here again.
I'm not going to go into like granular detail here, but you guys can pause and screenshot and analyze if you guys want to. But his account information, and then going to basically asking how much you spent to Plarium service and saying this email has 0 spending on it. And then you have like the whole backlog, everything, you know? So
bullshit. Bullshit. Derivative. That I love. I absolutely love.
That's just the air conditioner.
I want it.
welcome to the channel, man. How you doing? How did you get into Raid? Like, how long you been playing Raid as a free to play, and then how long you been making content?
Thanks, man. Just a little bit about myself. I've played in Raid for about just a bit over 3 years. I started playing Raid from a sponsorship. I used to play another game. I was a full-time like Twitch streamer and all that stuff.
What game did you play?
I played Hearthstone.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Wizard, card game.
Very
So
familiar,
I started playing Raid as a sponsorship. I wasn't initially into it, but I gave it a chance after a couple weeks, and then the ball started rolling on that.
That always works.
I'd only started content creating maybe at the beginning of 2023, so only about a year now. So it's been really fun. It's not my full-time thing. I just do it for fun, but yeah, so far the community has been really engaging and supportive. So I just keep putting out stuff if they want to see it. So yeah,
I love it. So guys, check out Boozer's channel because it's really cool. It's like, listen, the community is saturated, not oversaturated, but it's saturated. There's a lot of free-to-play content out there, right? Like there's the new series all the time. Those guys have, like, Hades and his whole crew have a really cool like free-to-play series, and I honestly love that. I actually get FOMO that I can't take place in it, but I just don't have the time, frankly. That being said, is like you are straight up end game, top 50 platinum, top 200 live arena, and you've done it. You've achieved the impossible. And I haven't seen any content like that on YouTube, like end game free to play, which I just find frankly unbelievable. I believe you, obviously. And we're going to talk on Boozer's channel too about my initial kind of reaction to I can't believe it, but I believe it. But I have to ask you the most pressing question of the entire video, dude, and that is, what the heck is up with your index? You don't clear your red dots?
I don't have time for this bullshit.
it was just one of those things that happened in the beginning where it was just kind of overwhelming to have all these red dots.
Are you really free to play?
I actually run 2 accounts, so both my accounts are free to play, both for level 100. So I play them both kind of full time, and at a certain point, I just said, "Hey, forget about it. Yeah, just let it go," and it doesn't bother me at all now. But a lot of people notice it.
Get out.
I see that you have Taurus.
Yes, I pulled him 6 months ago. Yes, on his 10X.
Congratulations on Taurus. Would you be more angry at me if I was to clear all your red dots, or if I was to use your immortal soul stones?
Don't you dare.
I would think the red dots are okay to go. I need to keep those souls.
Okay, I'm not gonna do either because I'm not that much of a scumbag. So I have a billion questions for you, man, but I think I want to just stay like high level for a moment here. Stay high level, and that is, what is the most common misnomer about spending in Raid Shadow Legends? You know, like now that you've achieved the end game, you know, and obviously I'm sure people in the comments, well, he has Taurus, of course he's in the end game. But the thing is like, dude, you're gonna run into some really good champions. So like, yeah, what are the misnomers about what you can and can't do as a free to play in Raid? And what can't you do? Like, where are your limitations, you know?
Okay, if you look at my champions, I have no champions that are empowered. So you're giving up a ton of stats that way to obviously big spenders. My faction guardians is not all filled out. I've been fortunate to fill out some of the key ones, but there are many key ones that are not filled out. So that's another thing that free to play cannot really compete in at all. So
Yeah.
you see there, my
I
banner
can see
lords
that.
completely
Golly. Yeah.
completely empty. I wish there was more in there, but so I got high elves done, and then I got undead done, which is actually a really important one as well. So those are some really big ones, and obviously free to play cannot really compete in the blessings category. So all my blessings I built up from 1 star all the way to 6 star. So if you guys don't know how long it takes to actually do that, it takes about 7 or 8 months of resource grinding daily from Iron Twins, and
Oh my
then double
God.
time on Sunday just to make a single 6-star blessing for one champion.
Why? Why settle for less when you can have it all?
So you guys know how important that decision is on which champion you want to 6-star. And obviously you're not going to get super lucky all the time. And yeah, those are the decisions you have to make. You have to be really serious with resource management. Whereas, if you're a big spender, you just, tap into the credit card for any kind of additional resources if you need it, right? So it's a different game. That's how I describe it to people. It's a different game. And at the very top, you cannot compete because you're giving up half your stats.
Yeah. I showed the screenshot, of your top arena finishes and stuff like that. But like, I would obviously like live arena, top, like you need the +4s, you need the whatever. But then again, like, I gotta be real with what you have accomplished without spending a dime. I'm just gonna be real. I'm sure some of my viewers might relate to this. Like, it makes me feel terrible about how much I've spent to accomplish, whatever, roughly the same or whatever, like it's insane. I have so many questions on everything you say that comes out of your mouth. I have a question for, but I don't want to stop. So just off the cuff, rapid fire. What was the hardest dungeon? I see you completed Phantom Shogun's Grove. You've completed Sand Devil. Obviously, I want to get back.
Shogun was the hardest.
Okay. And the team that you use is like, what was the final? Can I battle here, or is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What was the final piece of this puzzle, so to speak?
It was blessings. I didn't have the high enough blessings to keep the Shogun down, and that just comes down to time fishing the shop. So that's it.
Then I want to stay with blessings for a moment because I had a question there too. In terms of the farming, what does that process look like? Like as someone who's a dirty spenders, like I don't know. So what is your routine when it comes to, what is your daily routine in Raid as an end game free to play? Yeah.
Okay. Daily routine. First thing I do is farm Doom Tower, because sometimes you get energy from Doom Tower. So I use that energy that I get from Doom Tower climbing to spend it in Iron Twin. So that's the second thing I do. And then after that, I would do Tag Team Arena, get my 5 Tag Team Arena done at least. And then after I get those 5 done, I would do my faction wars for all 18 keys. So, obviously with super raids and stuff, it only takes 2 entries. So finish that off. After that, you're probably going to have some residual energy to put into the 3 dungeons that you need to get to for the 3 epic items. So get that done. And then after that, you basically just do whatever that needs to be done. So all your silver keys and stuff like that. But those are that's the start of the day. And that's the dailies. My dailies are pretty quick, maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours usually, not including obviously Hydra and all that stuff. But yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's a very similar to my day, but different, like I start with Doom Tower, I go to Faction Wars, but I don't worry about like how am I going to keep the energy efficiency going? Like the micromanagement or the management, frankly, of resources and stuff like that. What was the champion that you pulled that had the biggest effect on your account, would you say, overall? Or is there not one?
It's hard to say. This account is truly blessed. Obviously, when you look at the champion roster, it's truly blessed, especially for a free-to-play account. My first legendary I pulled from this account was Duchess, and I pulled her in month 3 from an Ancient Shard. And after that, the game's over, right? Like, she just carries you through everything. Even though it might not be the quickest, she basically carries you through all content. So
True. So having that key OP support, there's a few of them in the game, but having one of those is like that was the big one for you. What is your go when you finished high in arena, or when you play live arena? Who's your go-to squads? I guess I'll take a look at kind of like what you got here right now. But yeah.
Yeah, for platinum pushing, I use a DPS Turvold. So Turvold is actually really good against the meta defense, which is Terrace Merchka. So that's what I use. Turvo I got from the 80 Void Shard guarantee. So I didn't pull him from a shard or anything. I got him from a guarantee. So obviously guarantees were very important back in the day, but now we don't get them anymore. For live arena, my live arena champions are my best geared champions, because that's kind of like the PvP. Yeah, that's kind of like the PvP stuff. And then I put my best gear on my PvP champions. Like PvE is like really not a big deal for me. Like, but for PvP, I try to put my best stuff. My best champions that I use the most is probably obviously like Taras. I use him lots of places. He's good in PvE too, so I just use him to like blow up waves and Doom Tower.
Why not, right?
Yeah,
you'd be a fool for not. Let's be real, right? What word of advice would you give to like a other free to plays out there? How do you stay sane?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, in 2024 and even in 2023, Raid has really like shifted priorities a lot. They've added a lot of things into the game and made it really, really difficult for even like end game players to like keep up with the game.
I have to earn a living, right?
Like they've given free to play players some goodies, like some nice login champions. Wukong, for example, very, very good. Honestly, the stuff they've jammed into the game and then kind of slowly taken away from the game, I think has made it very difficult for free-to-play players.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is probably just focus. You have to focus on certain things. Like if you need to get the dungeon, like Dragon 20, for example, because that's probably the easiest dungeon to first get into, and you need to do Dragon 20 to farm gear. But if you start losing focus and you're starting like focus on like this hero's path or this whatever Titan event and starting
distractions
like
they throw at you every day. Yeah.
Spread out your resources, and then you'll never actually do what you need to do in this game. So it just really and also all these fancy login champions, they're all legendary. How is a free-to-play player going to get legendary books? So don't spread your books thin. For example, focus on one champion, focus on what you need to do. And obviously that's hard. It's easier said than done, right? But
it is.
I think that's the big thing for free-to-play players to do. Otherwise, you're just going to spread out your resources too thin, and you're not going to have much of anything. You're going to have a little bit of everything, but not your clear goal done, right?
So Rathal, for example, like Rathalos, right? Like, did you? I'm assuming you didn't book them, or did you? Okay, so are you still in the end game? Like, first off, how the heck did you book all these champions? I'm assuming just events in Clan Boss, right? Like what else could it be, right?
Yeah.
What is that threshold for you to actually book as a free to play a legendary?
Yeah, good question. So if you look at my book stash, I actually don't have a huge excess of books. I have just enough. Like what I would like to do, I have just enough to book one champion if that champion is like a game-breaking champion that I must have right away. So I make sure I have enough books saved for one champion. So that's like at least 10 or 12 I usually keep behind. Assuming that you do all your stuff every day, you're expecting to get about 10 or 12 books a month, excluding events and stuff. So you can probably up that to maybe 15. That's not a lot of books, but that also means that you don't have a key champion to book every month. So honestly, as a free to play, if you don't buy shards, you're not going to be picking up many champions very often. So you could go, 2, 3, 4 months without ever getting a champion worth booking. So make sure you guys conserve your books. So when the moment comes and you guys get those good key champions, that's when you use the books. Don't be pressured into spending books for like CBC points or tournament points or something, stuff like that. And make sure when you guys book your, key champions, they have to be key champions where you guys are using them in multiple places. So like, yeah, as a free to play, you don't have the luxury of booking niche or specific use champions until you're in the super end game where you have everything covered and you don't need anything anymore. So that's kind of like my advice. Make sure you guys focus on like, I guess, generalists. And that's kind of what I did in the beginning.
Okay.
So like I said, like Duchess was huge, right? Obviously you use her everywhere, you book her right away. I had champions like Rhodos, like early.
Dude, teach me.
And honestly, I was using, I forgot who my DPS was in the beginning. I think Skull Crown. And I'd much rather use like an epic AoE nuker instead of like Rotos,
Sure.
which was like, like a single target, and he needed good gear and all that stuff. So I just used like Skull Crown instead, right? It just made more sense. So just be sensible, right?
Make practical decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, don't overthink it. Relax.
That's actually really good advice because, like, obviously anybody in the world would like Rotos over a Skull Crown, and anybody in the world would agree that objectively, Rotos is better, but it doesn't mean that he's better for your account in terms of so like. So even right now, what would it take for, there's a fusion right now, and I want to ask you about how you approach fusions and stuff like that as well. But there's a fusion right now. Like, are you going to book her, or do you wait and see a while? Like, how do you approach this? Yeah.
So if you look at like some of my champions in my pipeline that's needs to be booked, there's actually a lot of champions that I want to like jump into and like kind of play test, but because I can't afford to spend the books just to play test like 1 or 2 times. It's really hard to justify spending books. Like, for example, I just pulled the OWL, I built the OWL, I got masteries on the OWL, but I don't really want to spend, I only have 24 books. I don't really want to
I don't think it's worth it, man.
Yeah, exactly, right?
But I love the OWL, but
Exactly.
But if I was free to play, to your point, I would be like, I would make damn sure that I wanted that, that like this is the right answer. You didn't even book Valkyrie, which I guess you must have got her A2, right?
That's the thing. I don't even use Valkyrie. Booking her is kind of like, I think I did book her.
No.
Yeah, I didn't even book her. Yeah. So
no.
Yeah, I just didn't have a use for her.
You're right though. Like an amazing champion.
Right.
I use her, but every account. That's the whole point. Is every account is different. In terms of what you need and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
booking key champions. Yeah.
Okay.
For progress, like for if it speeds up your dungeon run, or if it increases your PvP levels, or those are the only way. Like I would probably spend the books at this point, I think.
Okay. Lady Mikage, I noticed that you put a couple books into her. Mythical, I should say, right? Yeah. But you're also sitting on 8.
Yeah.
So 8, 9, 10, 11, I think is what you've had in the totality of your account in terms of mythicals. Do you think that's like as a free to play or as like whatever, as a player of the game, do you think that they're like, how do you feel about mythicals in general and mythicals tomes? Like you obviously went for Lady Mikage. You put a couple books into her. Obviously she's amazing. Like, how do you feel about it? Is it almost just frustrating at that point? Because how are you it's going to take you a year to book one of these, but it's probably going to take you a year to get one too, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the mythical acquisition rate and the book rate is about right.
Okay. Yep.
So from fully free to play, like unless I get lucky from the primal shards, I pulled 35 so far. So my mercy's not even close. But for example, like Mikage, luckily she doesn't require very many books to be good. I only made sure that I booked her ally attack down to 4 turns, and that's pretty much it. But she definitely justifies books. So I wanted to save enough books, 8 behind right now, just in case I get lucky and I pull a game-changing mythical. And it would have to be game-changing, like Crixia or Lazorius or some...
Or the new the new Barbarian. Maybe not. I don't know. You don't need counterattack or anything. Who knows?
Yes.
Like to your point earlier, it just depends, right?
Yes, it just depends. But I want to save enough so that I have the books available. I don't like playing champions like suboptimally. So if once I bring them out, I want them to be at their best.
Okay.
So that's kind of like my thinking. But yeah, it's definitely tough, but it's not something that I think about too much. The mythical situation, playing against them, definitely things that I see that way more often on a daily basis. But booking and acquiring them, I don't think about them at all. So,
okay, that makes sense. Talk to me about fusions, fragment summons, etc. First of all, anecdotally, as someone who's a dirty spender anyway,
you're doing really good.
I don't pay as close attention necessarily to the exact amount of resources that goes into every single one, because I know that, hey, maybe I'll just win a tournament if I have to or whatever, like it's whatever. So I want to ask you 2 broad questions. So I'll pause between, but like, I'm curious about how you approach fusions and fragment summons, both individually, if there's a difference, and also if you feel, maybe start with, how do you feel about the state of fusions and fragment summons as not just a free to play, but even a low spender, whatever in the game,
Yeah, I think, I think fusions in general are definitely trending in a negative direction for free to play or low spends. They're definitely getting way more expensive. We see that very obviously in like dungeon divers. The cost of dungeon divers have gone up significantly in the last year or last year and a half. The cost of you guys might notice like the cost of the artifact enhancement events, just pure silver spend. It has also gone up like significantly, and they jammed 3 of those in every fusion, so we can't even get away from them. They've been extra tricky with the scheduling of some of these fusions. They're no longer standard like 115 fragment for fragment summons. They're like 110, sometimes 100. It's really they're trying to jam us up. Yeah, they're trying to jam up people, especially people that aren't fully aware of what's going on. So more casual, low spend or whatever, right? It's definitely more difficult. I think for myself personally, I don't have too much issues doing fusions at all, because obviously I have tons of silver. I have like almost 1 billion silver, so I don't worry about silver. In terms of energy,
I have to pause. Billion silver. Is this because you're incredibly picky?
No, not at all. Most of my gear is level 16. You see all the gear in my account. It's there's red dots on them because I did a big farming session. I had a big thing with Fatalis. I had a big thing with the Deck of Fatalis event, where I didn't want to spend shards to get them.
I don't like him.
So instead, I basically spent all my gems to get them. And there's a long story behind that because the Xenogear 5-star soul was on the line. So I had to complete the deck to get the Titan points, but I didn't want to spend shards. So instead, I spent all my gems, which was like, so you see my gem count, I got like no gems going into a fusion. I know, so smart, right? But
interesting. But again, just the thought process that goes behind these decisions that you have to make is in a way, like, I'll be real, in a way it's like arduous, and in a way it's also kind of interesting. Like, it actually adds a layer, like, easy for me to say, right? But it adds a layer of strategy to the game. Like, I think that's inevitable, right?
Yeah. I think that's why I said like it's a different game between spenders and free to play. So we do different things, and I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just a different game. So I can see how people can be disconnected from either side whenever they talk about, oh, this guy's a dirty spender. Oh, this guy's one of those free to play by the way players. All that stuff. So yeah, here I have to save my energy. It looks like you collected my energy. So.
Oh. Shoot, dude.
I'm sorry, I'm really embarrassed.
I don't know why I did that. I really don't.
It's okay. I'll put it into the Fire Night today. I was going to put it into the Fire Night tomorrow because the dungeon event starts tomorrow.
I am such it's 2 different worlds, man. And the worst thing is like the first thing that comes to mind is, dude, I'll just drop like the money in your account. I'll buy it, and I can't buy it. So like, dude, I'm such a jerk, man.
I love that, man. Leave that in the video.
Wait, so you have to be real with me. You have that. How bad did that screw you up?
It's just 75 energy. I would have saved that for the dungeon event tomorrow. So it would have been like an extra 60 points towards the dungeon diver tomorrow. That's it. So just 60 points you cost me.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to touch anything at all. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. No, it's all good, man.
No, because I'm sitting here like just like messing around on your account in the background, like what I would do without thinking.
Do whatever you gotta do, man.
No. I'm sorry, man. Ash sucks, man. I'm not gonna touch it. What should I do in the background, but so I don't mess with anything?
Oh, you just do dungeons. Check the roster. You can do.
I don't want to use. Okay. I can.
Oh, you can use the energy.
Obviously, I can use your energy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Back to my. Okay. So how do you? Sorry, man. I'm sorry. How do you approach? Oh, so you do a little.
Do 9 on this.
Okay.
Okay.
So you do a. I want to like quick pause from because I can't keep a streamlined train of thought, and I find this so interesting. So interesting that you do the you go my guy Artak, huh? Oh, we had this conversation. I had Big Papa Drock, me and him, we're on the Dirty Spender life, right? I had him on the channel, and we had a conversation about like ranking all the logins. Yeah. I'm curious from your point of view, who had the biggest impact on your account, would you say, if you had to like rank the top 2 or 3 or whatever,
Oh, that's a good one. I think that's a good one. I think
obviously they're all good. All good.
I think maybe Ninja at the time that he came out was really, really impactful for a lot of people. I don't know if it impacted me that much, but he was in a lot of teams for me for a long time. He's not in a lot of teams anymore.
Yeah.
So at the time when he came out, he was very impactful. Artak definitely was very, very good when he came out. He still is good. And you see, I do have him specialized for this one dungeon particularly.
Gotcha.
But he can definitely perform in multiple areas, many areas, all areas probably. Wukong, I think, actually deserves a spot up there too. He is incredible in all areas, and he's especially good in arena. I think, yeah, and as a free to play, a champ of that caliber, for a free champion to be played at the highest levels, he is incredibly good. He's incredibly, and of course UDK can be played at the highest levels of PvP, and he's incredibly good.
Everybody that you just mentioned basically was our top 4 in various order, so I think we're on the same page no matter what life we're living in the game. Okay, back to the fusion. How do you approach how do you approach a fusion and fragment summon? And then what would be like, also like, what's your advice to players? Like what do you see people maybe missing, if anything, with how other people approach it, or some of the pain points and frustrations they experience?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of the frustration and stuff, it comes from surprises and not knowing. So being prepared is a big thing, right? So definitely
Fusion calendar comes out, they release it. What's the first thing you're doing?
Okay, when the calendar comes out, first thing I do is make a video. But no, seriously, I basically look over it. How's day one starting? Day one starting, if you got some breathing room, then you can do stuff on day 2. But basically what I'm looking at is how the dungeons intersect with the dungeon divers. So that's basically where you're going to spend your energy, because things like arena and silver spend, they're kind of like given. You know exactly what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what time you do it. But the important parts are like the dungeon events, like Ice Golem Tournament, for example, and then how it correlates with the dungeon diver events. And then you're going to have to plan the dungeon events and how you're going to spend your energy into the dungeon diver. So for example, currently, each dungeon event takes about 2,500-ish energy, depending how efficient you want to be. You can bring that down to maybe like 2,100 energy. But each dungeon diver event takes approximately 5,000 energy. So best case scenario, you have a dungeon diver event that overlaps 2 separate dungeon tournaments. Best case. However, that's not all the case. Sometimes you only get it overlap with 1. That means you're spending 5,000 in 1 dungeon. Not ideal, right? So now you gotta spend extra energy that you could have spent somewhere else in this fusion. So it's gonna be a heavy energy spend fusion. The other thing is to make sure that you have enough shards. Obviously, that's very key, right? If you're jumping into fusion and you don't have shards, there's no talking. You're done, right? So you must have shards. And that's being prepared between the fusions. If you're doing Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare daily, you're expecting about 10 to 12 sacreds a month. That's average, right? That's not including events or your monthly login or Doom Tower or anything like that. So you're probably expecting 12 to 15. If you save all those, you're pretty set, right? You're pretty set. You're probably looking at 7 to 8 for a fusion. And that's not even doing it super efficiently, I think. For me, you're saving your fragment fusions for Champion Chase. You're saving Broadmaw fusions for Champion Chase. Just things like that. You're pulling mystery shards. You're doing the grind, right? You're pulling mystery shards for Champion Chase. You're doing the grind. So that's kind of how you can, maximize your resources and return. So it's just some tips. Yeah.
I hope this is not an offensive question in any way, but I also, it's like just in a place of genuine curiosity. You obviously, we know this from before and I can cut this if you don't want me to say it, whatever. I know this from before our chat, before the call, that you're at work right now, you're on your lunch break. So it's obviously you're gamefully employed. And if you wanted to, you could spend a few dollars. And now you have a YouTube channel where you make revenue. You could spend. Now we talk. That's, I guess, I spend because I want to, for content reasons a lot, but I would spend outside of content too, because I do not like the grind of the opening up the mysteries. I'm not, that's where I, just to be real, right? So do you like that? Do you like that challenge? Why do you choose? 'Cause you're not free to play. It doesn't feel like out of necessity that you just can't, so why?
That's a good question. And actually, it doesn't get asked very often, but Truthfully, it is a challenge.
Keep this, right?
No.
No, I don't know what you like. I don't know what you roll.
No, sorry. 5-star, no. No, thank you.
Okay. I don't know. Now you've got me like really. I'm not touching anything, man.
Yeah,
All right. So yeah. Go ahead.
You
6
sell
stars.
that is fine. You sell that is fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah. Truthfully, it's a challenge, right? So for a spender, you have no real limits in this game. So you can basically do whatever you want, and basically have no limit or restriction on your game outside of spending money, of course. But for a free-to-play player, you have a hard restriction. Once you're out of these resources, you're out, right? So it's an extra game inside of a game. So I do like that, and I do like min-maxing. I do like that aspect of games, so I do enjoy that. I know it's a bit of a grind, and luckily, like, I can afford some time to do the grindy work in this game.
Of course.
So so otherwise I wouldn't be able to build an account like this over time. So I do enjoy that, and like I said, it is a bit of a challenge, and I think spending in this game, it just kind of brings you closer to the conclusion of this game.
True.
Unless you plan to be the top of PvP, in which case it's a infinite black hole of spending.
Don't scare them.
Which I don't think I can afford, obviously. So I don't really want this game. I didn't really want to reach the end of this game so quickly. And then I just wanted to enjoy my journey. And I thought being a free-to-play would just prolong my time in this game, obviously, since the end of this game would be the end of this game, and I would not enter PvP. For this account specifically, I did pull many PvP related champions. So I decided to be more PvP focused on it, and then started climbing and started doing a bit better in PvP. So that's kind of when I started being a little less free to play and being more resource spendy. Try to progress my account, because my account can only
behave in the game.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I shifted gears basically once I started focusing more on PvP for this free-to-play account. You can see, like, I don't have as much resources as like some free-to-play players that basically like they save all their resources, right? Like all their books, they have insane amount of books, insane amount of shards. They have lots of stuff, right? But for me, I don't, because I know that my account can only be so good for so long, because as soon as mythicals start getting introduced, I knew my account only has a certain deadline and it's going to be no good anymore.
Oh man, that bums me out. Does it bum you out? You seem to be taking it well.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does bum me out. Oh man, I freaking failed. This one doesn't do. Yeah, this one doesn't do 10.
Oh, my bad.
Preset for 10. It's actually preset for 6. 6 is 100%. 10 is like 92%. So I just don't do 10 at all.
Well, maybe we'll come through here. But okay, so it does bum you out.
It just bummed me out, right? Because I know that my account won't be good in like a year from now, because I can see it. I can see the writing on the wall already with the first mythicals. The first mythicals are just the tip of the iceberg, right? The better mythicals will come in like 6 months to 12 months time. Also, like, since one of my key champions on this account is actually Warlord. And I can see Warlord being much less valuable in a year's time from now, when everybody has mythicals, because you can't lock them out. And Warlord doesn't bring any additional utility like Yumiko, where Yumiko can reset herself in like, PvE teams like Hydra and stuff. And Crixia is another issue all to herself, because she brings multiple utilities to herself, not just the lockout, right? So
at that point where you feel like, okay, like that's it, I'm no longer able to compete, would you start a new account and enjoy it again? Would you stop playing, or would you ever be enticed to actually consider spending, given the time that you put into the account? Or is or we'll cross that bridge when we get to it?
It's a good question. I don't think I would ever be enticed to spend, because I know the later you get in the game, the less value spending actually gets. It's not going to get you anything.
Yeah.
In the beginning, if you inject money into your account, yes, you'll progress way faster, and then you might enjoy it. But later on, when you're injecting money in your account, an end game account, you're not going to get much from it, right? So I'm definitely not going to spend any money into my account. And as for continuing playing, I think there's enough content to keep me interested in the game to keep playing.
That's
so
good.
I'll keep playing. And we'll see.
They haven't totally ostracized you and made you quit and rage, which is good as of right now. Go on. Were you saying something else? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I obviously I'm a very small minority, right? Like, so the way I think an approach to the game is I think it doesn't even it's not even on Plarium's radar about how like future decisions will affect like a player like myself. So it's not into consideration.
But there is a lot of free to play players. That being said, I would say I don't know if this is a factor or not, but I would guess the majority, of the broad player base, the majority of people watching a YouTube video, I would say is not 100% free to play. But that being said, there's a lot of low spenders as well. Like, people who, because honestly, once you hit the end game, if you're spending $10 a month or something, to your point, it's going to be kind of negligible next to the $10,000 spender, That all being said, right? I have to say, man, just my point of view as somebody who's certainly not free to play and doesn't have the stomach, because of life situation. Like, the reason I play a game that I know is very pay to winny, frankly, is because I can't compete at games that require a lot of my time, or I can't experience the end game of games that require incredible amounts of grinding because of just my life schedule, which is my own choice, That being said, though, I think all that disclaimer out of the way, I think what you've done in the game is more impressive than anybody that I've ever had on the channel. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that as any disrespect to anybody else, but like, I just can't, I can't believe this is real life, dude. Like, and that's why I think it's like what you've done without spending any money, what you've been able to do is so much cooler. And again, I mean, no disrespect by this, but like so much cooler than whoever's top live arena right now, because it just like, there's no one there's a lot of big spenders who are high in various areas of the game. But there's no one that I've met anything like you,
Thank you, man. I mean, you can take a look at the champs. I mean, I haven't seen you go through the roster, but you can see like there's a big gap. These are all gone. Okay,
I wanted your approval here. I took a little peek, but I would love to end on to take a little. I would love to talk to you for hours and hours and hours. I would love, and I'm sure I'm speaking for my viewers, I find this so interesting. I would love to have you on again if you're interested, or make like some sort of a series, because this is like, in a perfect world, I would just like have you on whenever something big's going down and be like, okay, how are we approaching this as a free to play? Because I don't have this mindset,
I'm gonna have to report this conversation.
Let's talk about your champions a bit. Like who's worth looking at here, build wise. I can just take a scroll through the whole collection or whatever,
So I was just going to mention, like, you can kind of mention, you can kind of see like how I give up a lot of stats to a lot of like really crazy accounts. So it's really hard to do like, super high PvP against some accounts. Like some accounts is like impossible to beat, but you can see like my best champions, like my Taras is 6-star. I built him up from 1-star to 6-star. We got the new blessing update today, so you got a bunch of other random stats. I haven't really like combed too much. I haven't really combed or adjust too much.
Same, honestly. Yeah. Okay.
So Rotos, same thing. Rotos is a 1-star to 6-star. I built him up. He's in my best gear right now. Rotos and Taras, obviously. And these guys are, it's like just baseline Rotos. Yeah.
It's still so, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, 90% of the viewers right now or more are just like, dude, I've spent a lot and my Rotos is nowhere near that, or I don't have Rotos, or whatever it may be, or my best geared nuker or whatever is nowhere near that. Here, I'll push it over so you guys can see or whatever a little bit the total stats and stuff. But this is it's still an incredibly impressive, like these numbers are really, really good, and poor Turbo's naked.
You're certainly modest.
I switched my best gear to Turbo for only platinum, so he only gets used like one day a week.
Okay, I got you. But still, anyway, what I'm trying to say here and stammering my way through it is, these are very end game builds, like even in Harima, for example, but also they're not what you're going up against in top. There is not any, I shouldn't say not anywhere near, but kind of not anywhere near, you're seeing like 9,000 defense Harimas, is what you're going to get, maybe 10,000, with the same, crit damage, if not way more as well. So like, again, it's just a whole nother world. But yeah, anybody else worth noting here in terms of?
I use Necro a lot. I use Warlord. Warlord's my main, obviously CC.
Who's champion. Your fastest? Is Warlord your fast? Do you have an Arbiter your fastest? Like who do you use?
My Arbiter right now is 403. So that's free to play 403 Arbiter.
That's
My
that's
CC
insane. That's really. I think that's really fast. I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed.
Sir, take a deep breath.
I don't know, maybe 380 or 390 or something. But
Yeah.
to over 400 speed Arbiter on a free to play is insane.
Thank you. Yeah, my Sifi, if I put my fastest gear on her, she's 413. So I do use Sifi, but I use her in a six-piece protection set right now for Live Arena. I'm gonna maybe switch it up because I did pick up one accessory for her that might change up my builds. I don't know, but we'll see. I think there's gonna be a free gear change event coming up with the Cintranos rotation. They've been doing that lately. The last 2 rotations, they've been offering a free silver event, gear removal event. So I'm holding out for that, any major rebuilds. So I do want to rebuild some champions. I just pulled Georgette recently. I put some gear on him, tested him out, but wasn't too impressed, so I'll probably re-gear him as well. I have 2 Duchesses. One is for Platinum Reset. One is super slow in Bolster, and then I have another one that's fast in Stone Skin. But yeah, these are like kind of my better geared champions. I also find like issues with like gearing more champions because I don't have enough gear. So that's another thing that, obviously free to play versus Spender. Spender farms way more, right? Spender farms way more. They have just infinite energy, right? To farm stuff.
As much whenever I feel like I'm farming a lot, even me, I think that there's some accounts that are literally just farming all day. You know, like all day, every day. You know, when I farm overnight and I'm like, oh yeah, juicy loot. I'm thinking, yeah, there's accounts that just churn farming always. So I'm still trying to understand the silver thing. What is your advice for silver farming?
Oh, okay. So, like I thought about this because a lot of people ask me this, if there was like a magic thing that I do for silver, and it's actually not.
Because one of the biggest complaints I get is silver, and like you're like free to play. I don't even care about silver.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that I never leave myself energy capped. So that energy cap, if you cap yourself with energy, is actually quite a bit of silver loss per day because you could spend that energy towards something that generates silver. So I never leave myself energy capped. So that energy I translate into silver. And then I forgot I did the math or something. I think it ends up being like at least like a 1.5 million like a week that I make this way. So over time, I did accumulate this silver. And obviously, like you can check my gear stash. Most of my gear is rank 12 or 16. So I do spend my silver. And I do spend it like re-gearing and stuff like that.
So
but
it's basically
silver,
just grinding. Like
silver just comes. Silver just comes naturally. Like I do CVC. I'm a pretty average 400k player for CVC, so I have no issues doing that. I'm very, just grinding the game. Just grinding the game.
400k free to play average, CVC. Yeah. Okay, so I have to. I guess my final question is, be respectful of your time here, man. Is do you how much do you play Raid? What does your schedule look like? Because I'm thinking, oh my God, this is insane amount of time that you put into this.
Truthfully, actually, I don't play that much. I have a regular job. I have a regular job, 8-hour job. I have a family. I was a young child. So basically, after my job, family time until family time, goes to bed. Yeah. And then in the background, I actually have the game running while family time is happening or work is happening.
The auto battles and whatnot.
Auto battles and whatnot. And my computer is actually nearby in the living room. So I do check up on it periodically every like 10 minutes or something. And I'll just set something on auto. Like if I'm doing like Doom Tower, like 10 or 15 minutes, it's done. And then I'll set it on auto on something else. And then so it's not like continuous playtime, but it is like checking up on it every like 15 minutes or something. And then once family time is over, people are in bed, I get an hour or two to myself. And this is kind of like time to do like Live Arena, do Hydra, re-gear stuff, chat to people on Discord, keep up with the community and YouTube stuff. And so, it's working out okay. I'm not too burnt out, but definitely, there's some nights that are a bit longer, and then some sweaty nights, some sweaty CVC nights, and
Understood. Yeah. No, it's weird because I guess that in some ways, I think that probably mirrors a lot of people, like with differences, obviously, and here or there, but like. I think in a lot of ways, like that's what I, you know, I do like some background farming here and there, and then I try to pick and choose my spots throughout the week where I can have like a full focus on work on something, you know. But hey, listen, man. I can only imagine what my viewers think of this. I think and hope they absolutely love this chat with you, and we're able to glean something away, whether it be, hey, maybe taking a look at how you play the game, not necessarily like changing to a free-to-play, but like just look at, is it necessary what I do, and always be questioning that, you know, and at the same time, just give tips like how you approach the game. Also, I feel like it can motivate other players to kind of just pay more attention to little things and what you can achieve just by paying attention to what they give you already, you know? But with that said, I have a billion questions I didn't ask you that I really want to ask you. So I would love to have you on again. Thank you for being so generous with your account, your time, everything. Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ash. I mean, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. I mean, like, I was, just floored when I saw your message, and I'm super happy to be here, and I'm more than happy to connect again. And thank you guys for watching. I know it's been a long one. Hopefully it was insightful. Hopefully you guys took away something, and maybe we'll see each other again. So.
Hopefully, guys, perfect time to go ahead and pay Boozer back by go ahead and checking out his YouTube channel. Obviously, you're not going to regret it based on this content. Check it out there. Boozer, thanks again for coming on. Thank you guys for watching all the way till the end. And as always, take care.